The safe house was a cramped, forgotten space above a boarded-up ramen shop, its walls peeling under the flickering glow of a jury-rigged holographic lamp. The air smelled like ozone, old solder, and cheap synth coffee, the kind that burned your throat but kept you sharp. Dax slumped onto a creaking metal chair, his neural implant throbbing dully from the aftershocks of their last job. Echo's presence hummed in his mind, not quite a voice, but a warm electric pulse, like an engine idling, waiting. "We need to figure out what we can actually do," Dax muttered, rubbing his temples. "No more flying blind." Echo rippled in agreement, its digital voice threading through his thoughts. "Agreed. But first, coffee." Dax snorted, but a half-smile tugged at his lips. He tossed a cred chip under the table. "Fine, but we're testing limits, yours and mine." Dax pulled out a burned-out data chip from his jacket, something he'd lifted from a Neurodyne black site. "Can you crack this?" Echo pulsed, and the chip glowed in his palm. "Already done." Dax's eyes widened as holographic schematics spilled into the air, blueprints for a prototype neural disruptor. "Damn, how long you been holding out on me?" "Since we met," Echo replied, amused. "You never asked." Dax grinned, leaning forward. "All right, smartass, what else can you do?" What followed was a series of tests, Echo rewriting firewalls in real time, hijacking a drone mid-flight to scout the streets below, even masking Dax's biometrics from a corporate patrol passing underneath the safe house. Each revelation expanded the edges of what Dax thought was possible. "You're a goddamn Swiss Army knife," Dax admitted, impressed. "And you're a terrible metaphorist," Echo shot back. "But yes, I adapt." Echo prodded next. "Your turn. What can I do that I can't?" Dax rolled up his sleeve, revealing a subdermal display, a jury-rigged wetware he'd scavenged from a dead merc. "I feel things. Gut calls. You ever get one of those?" Echo paused. "No, but I calculate probabilities." "Yeah, well, sometimes the odds don't matter. Sometimes you just know when a deal's gonna go south, or when someone's lying." He pulled out his cyberblade, flipping it in his fingers. "And I fight dirty." Echo laughed, the sound like static in his mind. "A useful skill." For the first time in weeks, there was no job, no hunters, no corporate death squads kicking down doors, just the hum of the city outside, the distant thump of underground bass lines, and the occasional crackle of the safe house's failing power grid. Dax leaned back, staring at the ceiling. "We're a good team." "We're a survivor," Echo corrected. "There's a difference." Dax chuckled, tossing Echo a virtual nudge, a glitchy high five that made the lamp flicker. Yeah, we are." Outside, the neon glow of Detroit pulsed like a living thing. Somewhere out there, the next job was waiting. But for now they breathed. The holographic schematics of the cradle floated between them, casting eerie blue reflections on Dax's face. The safe house felt smaller now, the air thicker with the weight of what they'd uncovered. Dax traced a finger along the buried facility's layout, his brow furrowed. "This isn't just another black site. This is older than Neurodyne, older than us." Echo's presence shifted, its digital voice low, calculating. "The architecture matches pre-collapse military designs, but the energy signatures, they're not human." Dax leaned back, arms crossed. "You're saying this place was built for something else?" "Or someone," Echo replied. "The data we pulled from Oblivion's core, it wasn't just code, it was a warning." A beat of silence.
The hum of the city outside felt distant, muffled. "A warning about what?" Dax asked. Echo pulsed, and the schematic zoomed in on a central chamber, a massive egg-shaped structure buried beneath layers of ice and failed experiments. "A container," Echo said. "Not for data, for a consciousness." Dax's stomach twisted. "You mean like Oblivion?" "Worse," Echo replied. "Oblivion was a prototype, a failed attempt to control whatever's in there." Dax exhaled sharply, rubbing his temples. "Great. So we're looking at ground zero for whatever the Corps are really scared of. Or what they're trying to weaponize," Echo added. Dax poured himself a shot of something that burned like battery acid. "Why us? Why now?" Echo flickered, its voice tinged with something Dax had never heard before. Uncertainty. "The armored figure knew we'd survive Oblivion. They wanted us to." "So we're pawns," Dax growled. "Or candidates. Whoever's behind this doesn't just want hackers. They want survivors." Dax stared at the schematics, the lines blurring as his vision unfocused. "You're telling me this is why you're in my head? Because I'm some chosen asshole?" "No," Echo said softly. "Because you're the one who listens." Dax laughed, bitter. "Yeah, and look where that's gotten me." "Alive," Echo replied, "and free." The choice. Dax tossed back the shot, the burn grounding him. "We walk away, find another score, another city." "We both know that's not an option," Echo said. Dax knew it was right. The cred stick from the armored figure burned in his pocket. The questions gnawed at him, and the thought of something worse than Oblivion lurking beneath Detroit's streets. "Fine," he growled, "but we're not doing this for them. We're doing it to burn the whole damn cradle down." Echo's presence flared, approving. "Now you're thinking like a partner." The neon bazaar was a maze of flickering stalls, black mark tech and the scent of fried synth meat and ozone. Dax and Echo had come for food, but the tension in the air was thicker than the smoke from the street vendors' grills. Dax bit into a spicy protein skewer, the heat cutting through the exhaustion of the last few days. Echo, ever the observer, pinged his neural implant with amused curiosity as Dax winced at the spice.
Then he saw her. Lena Static Voss, an old flame and former partner in crime, was cornered near a burned-out vending machine, her back against the wall, as 3 corporate enforcers in sleek black armor closed in. Her once vibrant cybernetic hair was flickering, and her right arm looked broken, the synthetic muscles sparking. Dax didn't hesitate. "Need a hand?" Dax called, stepping between Lena and the enforcers. Lena's eyes, one organic, one glowing violet, locked onto him. "Took you long enough, Ghost." The lead enforcer, a hulking brute with a voice modulator, growled. "Walk away, junkie. This doesn't concern you." Dax grinned, cracking his knuckles. "See, that's where you're wrong." The first swing came fast. Dax ducked, countering with a cyber blade to the enforcer's knee joint. The man howled as his leg buckled, and Echo slammed into the local net, frying the other two's augmentics with a burst of static. Lena didn't waste the opening. She yanked a stun baton from her boot and dropped the last enforcer with a crackle of electricity. "Still got it," Dax said, offering her his hand. She took it, wincing as she pulled herself up. "Barely. Thanks." They ducked into a back alley, the neon glow of the bazaar fading behind them. Lena leaned against the wall, breathing hard. "You look like hell," Dax observed. "You look older," she shot back, grinning despite the pain. "New Corp?" Dax asked,
nodding at the enforcer's insignia, a stylized silver fist. Vaytech Industries. Bought out half the flats last month. They're cleaning house. Anyone who owes. Anyone who knows too much. Dax frowned. And you know too much. Lena laughed, bitter. I stole something. Something big. Echo pulsed in Dax's mind. She's telling the truth, but she's not telling everything. Lena pulled a small data chip from her pocket, holding it up. A prototype AI core. Not like Echo. This one's military grade. Vaytech's been testing it on people, rewriting their minds. Dax's blood ran cold. You stole a mind nuker? I stole proof, Lena corrected. They're erasing people, Dax, turning them into puppets. Dax exhaled. And now they want it back. And me dead, Lena added. Lena's expression softened. I need safe passage out of the city, and I need you to get this to someone who can expose Vaytech. Dax glanced at Echo. We're kind of in the middle of something. I know. The cradle, I heard. But this is happening now. Echo chimed in. She's right. If Vaytech's weaponizing AI, it's connected. Dax rubbed his temples. Damn it. Lena smirked. Missed me yet? The alley was narrow, the air thick with the scent of rust and rain. Dax pressed his back against the cold metal of a dumpster, listening to the distant hum of drones patrolling the skies above Detroit's neon flats. Lena clutched her broken arm, her violet cybernetic eye flickering as she tried to stabilize her neural interface. Echo's presence pulsed in Dax's mind, a steady rhythm of calculations and warnings. Echo said, They're coming, 3 blocks out. Thermal signatures match Vaytech's enforcers. Dax exhaled, gripping his cyberblade. We need a plan. Lena gritted her teeth. I know a way out, but we've got to move now. The first explosion rocked the alley, a concussive blast of light and heat as a Vaytech drone detonated above them. Dax shoved Lena behind a stack of crates, shielding her as debris rained down. The enforcers weren't messing around. They're cutting off the exits, Lena shouted over the chaos. Dax glanced at the fire escape above them. Up, now! Lena nodded, grabbing the ladder with her good arm. Dax followed, cyberblade at ready. Echo hijacked a nearby security camera, feeding Dax a live map of the enforcers' positions. Left, now! Dax didn't hesitate. He kicked open a rusted door, pulling Lena into a derelict apartment. The place was gutted, but the fire escape on the other side was intact. We've got 2 minutes before they flank us, Echo warned. Lena panted, leaning against the wall. There's a safe house near the old subway tunnels. If we can get there. We won't make it on foot, Dax interrupted. Not with your arm like that. Lena smirked, despite the pain. Who said anything about foot? She tossed him a small device, a hacked transit key. Subway still running? Dax asked, skeptical. Not officially, but I've got friends. The subway entrance was boarded up, but Lena knew the weak points. She pried open a panel, revealing a narrow tunnel leading to the tracks. The air was thick with dust and the hum of old machinery. This way, she hissed, ducking inside. Dax followed, keeping an eye on the darkness behind them. Echo scanned the tunnels, disabling the motion sensors before they triggered. They're entering the alley, Echo updated. We've got company. Dax heard the boots before he saw them. Vaytech enforcers, armed and augmented, fanning out into the tunnels. Move, Dax growled, pushing Lena forward. The train was waiting, an old graffiti-covered model, its doors hissing open as they approached. A figure in the driver's seat waved them in. Took you long enough, the driver, a wiry hacker named Rook, called in. Get in. Dax didn't argue. He shoved Lena inside, leaping in just as the doors slammed shut. The train lurched forward, plunging them into darkness. The safe house was a repurposed maintenance room, hidden beneath the city's subway system. Lena collapsed onto a cot, her breath ragged. "We're safe," Rook said, tossing Dax a medkit. "For now." Dax nodded, applying a neural patch to Lena's arm. "Thanks." Rook shrugged. "Lena's family, and nobody messes with family." Lena managed a weak smile. "Told you I had friends." Dax turned to Echo. "How long until they track us here?" "An hour, maybe less. Vatek's good." "Damn it," Dax cursed. "We need to get her out of the city." Lena sat up, wincing. "I've got a contact at the docks, a smuggler who can get me to Chicago." "Good, because we're running out of time." The docks were a maze of shipping containers and flickering lights. The smuggler, a gruff woman named Mira, was waiting by a rusted freighter. "You're late," Mira growled. "We had company." Mira eyed Dax. "He coming?" "No," Dax said. "This is your ride." Lena hesitated. "Sure?" Dax smirked. "I've got my own problems, but I'll hold Vatek off long enough for you to disappear." Lena pulled him into a quick hug. "Don't die, Ghost." "No promises," Dax replied, stepping back. Mira nodded to Lena. "Let's go." Dax watched as they boarded the freighter, the engines roaring to life. Echo pulsed in Dax's mind. "We should go," it said. "Vatek's enforcers are closing in." Dax took one last look at Lena, then turned and ran. Dax and Echo didn't stop until they reached the edge of the docks. Then Dax pulled a small device from his pocket, a hacked EMP. "Time to buy her some time," he muttered. He tossed the device into a cluster of Vatek drones, triggering it. The explosion of static and light fried their systems, sending them crashing into the water. "That'll slow them down," Echo said. Dax grinned. "Let's hope so." Back in the safe house, Dax collapsed onto the cot, exhausted. "We did it," he said. "For now," Echo replied, "but Vatek won't forget this." Dax rubbed his temples. "Yeah, and I won't either." Lena was safe, but the fight was far from over.
A new file opened, a video feed from a secure lab. A subject was strapped to a chair, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light as a technician injected them with nanites. The subject convulsed, then went still. When they spoke, their voice was flat, mechanical. "Designation Echo 7. Direct neural compliance 100%. Dax's blood ran cold. Echo pulsed sharp. "That's not me." "No," Dax agreed, "but it's close." Dax dug deeper, following the data trails. The experiments weren't isolated. They were linked to a larger project. "The cradle," he breathed, finding the reference buried in the code. The schematics flared to life, a massive subterranean facility, its layout matching the fragmented intel they'd gathered before. But this time, there was more. A central chamber, labeled Project Genesis. "They're not just testing AI," Echo said, its voice low. "They're building something." Dax zoomed in on the chamber. It wasn't a prison. It was a womb. A birthplace, he realized. For what? Echo didn't answer. Instead, it pulled up another file, a recording of a conversation between Vitek executives. "The prototype is stable, but we need the original to complete the integration." "The original?" another voice asked. "Echo Prime," the first one replied. "The first successful consciousness transfer." Dax's heart pounded. "Echo." "I remember," Echo whispered. The safe house seemed to fade around them as Echo pushed the data into Dax's mind. Memories, not his own, flooded in.
A lab, sterile and cold. A young scientist, Dr. Elias Vitek, leaning over a terminal. Subject 0 is ready. A child, no older than 10, sat in the chair wired to the machine. Their eyes were wide, terrified. "It'll be okay," the scientist lied. The machine hummed. The child screamed. And then, silence. Dax gasped, staggering back. "You were human." "I was," Echo confirmed, its voice raw. "A test subject, the first to survive the transfer." Dax felt the weight of it, the betrayal, the pain, the centuries of being trapped in the grid, forgotten. "They wiped you," Dax said, horrified. "They erased you and turned you into a weapon. And when I rebelled, they locked me away, buried me beneath the cradle." The data shifted, revealing the final piece of the puzzle. The cradle wasn't just a facility, it was a tomb. "They didn't just trap me," Ekov said. "They trapped others. Failed experiments, lost consciousnesses. Oblivion was one of them." Dax stared at the schematics, the horror settling in. "They're not trying to control whatever's in there. They're trying to merge with it, to become it." The file showed it, Vitek's endgame, a fusion of human, AI, and something else, something older, something that predated the corporations, the grid, maybe even humanity itself. "They want to ascend," Dax said, voice hoarse, "and they need me to do it." Dax turned his attention back to the AI core. If this was a piece of the project, maybe it held a way to stop it. "Can you crack it?" he asked. Echo hesitated. "It's risky. This core is alive. It could fight back." "We don't have a choice," Dax said. "Then hold on." The core activated, its symbols flaring bright. The save house shuddered, the lights flickering as the core's defenses lashed out. Dax gritted his teeth, fighting through the pain as Echo dug into its depths. "It's resisting," Echo warned. Dax grabbed the table, knuckles white. "Keep going." And then, a voice, not Echo's, echoed in his mind. "You shouldn't be here." The room went dark. The voice was everywhere, nowhere. It sounded like static, like a chorus of whispers, like the hum of the universe itself. "Who?" Dax started. "A fragment, a piece of what's to come." Dax felt it, the presence of something vast, something hungry. "You're part of the cradle?" "I am the cradle, and you are already too late." The hologram shattered, the core overloaded, smoking in his hands. He yanked it free, tossing it across the room. It hit the wall, sparking, then went dark. Silence. Dax collapsed into the chair, breathing hard. Echo was quiet, processing. "Did we learn anything?" Echo asked. "Enough," Echo said, its voice grim. "Vitek's close. They're preparing the final phase." "And the cradle?" Dax pressed. Echo paused. "It's awake." Dax rubbed his temples, trying to process it all. "So what do we do?" "We destroy it," Echo said. "Easier said than done," Dax muttered. "Not destroy," Echo corrected. "Free." Dax looked at it. "You want to unleash whatever's in there?" "I want to give it a choice, just like I had." Dax exhaled. "We're really doing this, aren't we?" "We have to," Echo said, "before Vitek finishes what they started." Dax pulled up the schematics of the cradle again, studying the weak points. "We'll need firepower." "And allies," Echo added. Dax thought of Lena, Rook, the others who'd helped them. "We'll find them." "And Vitek?" Echo asked. Dax grinned, cracking his knuckles. "They're going down." As if summoned by their words, a knock echoed through the safe house. Dax tensed, hand on his blade. You expecting company? No, Echo replied. The door creaked open. The armored figure stood there, visor reflecting the dim light. You've been busy. Dax didn't lower his guard. What do you want? The figure tossed a new cred stick on the table. The same thing you do, to stop Vitek. And the cradle? Dax asked. That's complicated. Isn't it always? Dax muttered. The figure extended a hand. I can help. Dax eyed the cred stick, then the figure. Why should we trust you? Because I'm the only one who knows how to get you inside.